out of the rain. I am Brian David Phillips. I'm a professor in Taiwan. I'm also a trained actor as well as a hypnotist, among other things. Now, some of the things that Pradeep dealt with, I have other techniques for, but what I really want to do is talk a little bit about using trance with acting, specifically with some of the tasks that actors have. Now, some of you are faced with some stage fright, some excitement at going on stage or getting in front of the camera. Most of you, maybe not all, but most of you, even if you have some sort of fright issue, if there is such a thing, you like to be in front of others. You enjoy others watching you. You are exhibitionists, and that's okay. Now, as performers, that's a good thing. So those of us who like to be in front of people and say, look at me, this is the best profession for it. Because you get paid to have people look at you. The only thing that's close would be model. But models don't get to talk. Actors do. Unfortunately, as a professional performer, as a professional actor, in order for people to look at you, you actually have to do something worth looking at. And so, that's the craft. That's what you come to workshops for, is to get good at doing the things that people will pay to look at you doing. What are some of the key issues that actors have to deal with? Obviously, film actors, their task is a little different from a theater actor. Okay? I was trained in theater. So theater actors have to memorize, and they have to remember everything in one go. Film actors get to learn a little bit, shoot, look at the script, shoot a little. So the memorization tasks are different. Of course, you have to emote differently as well. Theater actors are at a distance from the audience, so they are big, so that the people way back there can see, hey, look, I'm crying. A film actor, when you're crying, the camera gets really close, and there's a single tear coming through. Of course, that single tear, half the time, is some guy dropping glycerin on you. But you know, the really good actors, they produce the tear. Now, I'm told that you have some familiarity with Stanislavski. And Stanislavski's system is very mechanical and very trance-based. Long ago, you heard the story this afternoon, long ago when dinosaurs walked the earth and I took my first acting class at university, I came in, and the very first exercise we had to do was everyone sit in a circle and hold hands. Now close your eyes and imagine energy going through you as we all move through it. Now I'm from Kansas, which in America is an incredibly conservative place. And it seems so odd to be holding hands in the middle of the floor, letting energy move around. I just wanted to learn my lines, speak my piece, and get my awards. But I eventually learned, and I have verified through experience, that the really good actors, the really talented folks, are often extremely good and gifted at trance phenomena. Now, I'm a hypnotist, but for acting, I don't use just hypnosis. Hypnotizing someone to be the character is not really helpful, because as I know you may be familiar with some of the great method actors. The great method actors in America, many of them practice what is actually nonsense and not helpful. Method actors will sometimes go out and, if I'm playing a drunk, what's a good method acting technique to play a drunk? Go get drunk. So I know what being drunk feels like. Stacy Keach did that on Broadway and destroyed the show because he was drunk. Dustin Hoffman in the film The Marathon Man. For a scene, he was playing with one of the greatest British actors ever to have lived, Sir Laurence Olivier, who was playing a Nazi who was torturing young Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman to you guys is an old guy. He was young in this film. In the scene, Hoffman was supposed to be exhausted because he's been up for many hours, running away from the bad guys. And as they're working on the scene, Hoffman keeps blowing his lines, making mistakes. And Olivier finally said, "What is wrong with you?" Now, Laurence Olivier was very well known for having patience, but he lost it with this kid. He says, "What's wrong with you?" "Well, I had to be tired, so I've stayed up for 3 days. I haven't slept." Olivier looked at him and said, "My boy, haven't you ever heard of acting?" You don't become the character, but you represent the character. Now, some of you, when you're acting, I don't know what your experience levels are, but I'm going to assume that you all had some experience with this sort of thing. When you are acting, for some of you, you know the character, you've learned your lines. So you all have strategies for line memorization, right? For learning the character. You've analyzed the background of the story. You've analyzed the character. You understand what your units and objectives are. So in this scene, my motive is this. There's always a motive. There's always something to do. There's always some hook to hang your hat on to get this character. And sometimes when you're acting, when you're in the role, and you're with the other person, something clicks. And you find yourself watching yourself move. And you find yourself watching yourself while at the same time you have the emotions building up through you. And so that's what acting is in trance. You become the character while simultaneously driving that character. If you only become the character, you're not predictable. You can't control it. But if you can drive that experience, it's a kind of trance-based dissociation, so that you are both the character and yourself, making sure that you're on your mark. Here's my blocked point. My blocking is to go from here to here. Make sure you've got your blocking. But as you do that, you're in character. And you're experiencing the emotion and the fire. And you're able to connect with your fellow actor. Because if you're just talking to a board, and some actors do that, they treat the other people as props. They're not props. They're also characters. And you interact at many levels. You interact as All of us are properties on stage. You interact as characters within our emotional space, and you interact as actors who are performing ensemble, none of whom I asked my wife to talk to them first. I'm shy. Really, I am. But on stage, I kind of like everybody looking at me. I had my butterflies. I didn't read it as fear. I read it as anticipation, as a desire to get on. And I'd be ready backstage. I've learned my lines. I've learned my lines. I've memorized everything. I don't just learn lines by reading the page. I learn the lines through an oral cue. Back then we didn't have MP3 players. We had ancient things called audio tape. I would read my lines into the tape and listen to it. And in the privacy of my own home, I'm running my blocking, listening to the tape, learning my line, so that when I hear it, I know how to respond, not how to see the lines. Many young actors, they learn by reading it over and over, and then when they're on stage, they miss their cues because they've learned visually, not auditorially. I learned my lines through audio input, through listening to the lines. If you have friends, read your lines too, and through the movement. So my blocking was natural because I've done it 1,000 times this way. I knew my marks, I knew my lines, and I'm ready to go. And I'm listening for my cue. As soon as the cue comes, I cross that line. I'm no longer me, I'm in my character. And I'm doing the scene, and I transform. I become that person, but I'm driving the person, which is really important. Make that distinction. You need to be both of those. And in that experience, I'm connecting with the other person, and then I go off. I go back to the guy waiting to go online. Now, there are ways of doing this, and there's different exercises of acting. There's different approaches to acting. But one way of stepping into a character is to literally step into that character. Thank you all for sleeping with me. I know all of you are craving to clap. Please, just a moment. हमारे यहाँ एक शब्द है नमस्ते. आपको उसका मतलब मालूम है? नमः के मैं आपके सामने झुकता हूँ. मैं आप सबके सामने इनके सामने झुक रहा हूँ. Believe me, don't you feel this is a life-changing seminar, and something like this happens only once in a lifetime. Yes. So, what's going to happen again? Many more times, so I'm sure it's going to be blessed more.